commercialisation at Maynooth University, and but what I want to talk about today is general tech transfer, knowledge transfer partnerships between universities and industry. So I'm not going to really talk too much about Maynooth. And I'm going to start by maybe a little bit of history and to explain particularly to people that are new to the game and industry in particular, the amount of opportunities now open to companies to work with universities. And when I say universities, I mean universities, institutes of technology and so on, research performing organisations. And I guess it kind of all started with the Innovation Task Force a few years back. And the Innovation Task Force was introduced by the government with the aim to steer universities towards a need driven by industry. So the Innovation Task Force mainly comprised of industry people directing the government on what types of research should be funded in Ireland. And a couple of years later along came what's called the IP protocol, which I think appeared in the end of 2012, which is the program by which you as industry can get access to the IP from universities. And it's very clear and I would say very favourable towards industry. And we just had a review recently by a bunch of international experts, and all of them are very surprised by the level, the effort to which the IP protocol goes to encourage industry to come and work with universities. And then the next part is the development and the installation of Knowledge Transfer Ireland, which has now become the hub of this activity, which I'll explain in a moment. And then finally, the publication of Innovation 2020 at the end of last year, which again is a push by the government to drive innovation via research. So I guess if we go back a number of years, the university mission would only have been defined by the top part, the apex of that triangle, which was really universities and IoTs focused mainly on teaching and skills. And then as SFI came into play and more money came into the system, we started to focus on knowledge creation and via research primarily. But the leg, I guess the part that we do and the part I'm now going to talk about is the knowledge transfer, which is the application of that knowledge developed. And so the research that we do within the university, we can't commercialise that. We rely on new companies to take the technology from us and commercialise it. And that's knowledge transfer. And knowledge transfer is quite broad. It starts from, and this is a list, maybe not an inclusive list, but the main parts of knowledge transfer. Research exploitation, that is how to avail of technology at universities, and I add here at value. And if you look at the Irish universities, the number of license deals we do, the number of spin-outs we do, is quite high when you compare to international average, and yet the income that we receive from knowledge transfer is very low in comparison. So you could say, well, that's because what we're giving companies is not worth anything, but yet they keep coming back for more. So I disagree with that, and I think the reason is that it's low is because we're encouraged, as per the IP protocol, to give the technology away at value, and that's what we do. So research collaboration is the next part, and that would be where you partner with universities via funds from either the EU or the Irish state, and I'll talk about a few in a moment. On how you can develop products effectively via collaboration with us. Consultancy services, the availability of general knowledge within universities. So rather than have the idea you come to university to work with such and such a scientist, you might consider that you come to a university and you work with a scientist, an engineer, biologist, an anthropologist, a sociologist, etc., all of which exist within the same group. The facilities and services, thanks really to the funding available from the likes of SFI, we have some very fancy equipment in universities now, and we are encouraged to open the doors and allow companies to come in and use those facilities via what's called an access plan. Student-supported projects. There are many students now many programs which allow you to avail of students at various levels of development, but I'm really talking there mainly about postgrad students and business, and then of course incubation space. So the supports available, the ones that I've talked about, all the ones here that I've underlined are the ones that are directly available to industry. The ones that are not underlined are available only to the universities, but that's not to say that you can't avail of some of the outputs of those. And I will talk a little bit about that in a moment. So SFI, for example, research centres, industry fellowships, strategic partnerships, all of those encourage you as industry to avail of funding available to you to work with universities, and similarly with Enterprise Ireland, innovation partnerships, technology centres, etc., and more Horizon 2020. Now the Horizon 2020 funds are certainly a little bit more difficult to get. The success rate typically of the order between 10 and 20%, whereas the EI and the SFI would more be somewhere around between 40-50% success rate, something of that order. Knowledge Transfer Ireland, I think, has become really a control hub for you from outside, from people from industry that will want to learn and see what's going on. And if you look at their website at the moment, not only will they show you, will they point to particular experts within the university, but they'll give you model agreements of how you engage with us. It's all up there. And most of the universities and IoTs have now developed and used these model agreements, so there's no surprises effectively. And various examples of how you work with us, all to be found on this. So I think it's a very useful site for somebody that's coming into trying to work with an IoT or a university and wants to learn how to do it. So now I'm just going to give two brief examples. One we did ourselves, the one on the bottom right hand side, and the other is just one I just picked out of nowhere really. But it's an example that I like for various reasons. But the Innovation Value Institute is an institute that we co-founded with Intel. And the idea is the promotion of business value for IT. And we developed this institute, which now has of the order of about 100 members, all of which collaborate within the university, receiving significant money from the IDA and from EI via the Technology Centre to develop joint programs that all of these companies share on their roadmap, but are not competitive. So not on their immediate roadmap, but on their long-term roadmap. Challenges along the way. And that's what the Innovation Value Institute does. And there are many of these technology centres now, which typically will have membership of about 30-40 companies with a shared agenda, but not a competitive agenda, if you know what I mean. And the other one, the other is a technology that I came across last year, and it just, to me, it's a good example of how a company has used universities across the world to develop a piece of kit or technology. And the company is called NextStem, which was developed out of a piece of technology that came out of a university in Helsinki. And it's a tool which relies on magnetic stimulation of the brain. So it initially started as a diagnostic tool, but then became a tool for stimulation. And the company that developed this developed it for a research market and sold it to a few universities without really knowing what it was for. And within the universities, clinicians and researchers started to use it for various programs, such as pain relief, stammer, tinnitus, various let's say pathologies of the brain which are related to brain plasticity. And what they found now is that the academic group has started to publish these protocols, which are now used clinically. So the company has sold not now one or two tools to academic institutes, but sold tools to hospitals all over the world. So in other words, they've used the expertise within the universities to push the product. And then almost finally, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about an idea that we've developed over several years within the university, and we call it business partners, and I've put in here kind of knowledge transfer 2.0. And 2.0 I really mean by, well, it's kind of new, it's not one, it's two. And the second is that 2.0 in the sense that it's a network. The idea is that it's a network of expertise. So the problem that we faced is we would have academics come to us and they say, we've developed this technology. Now, we develop technology not based on a pull, it's based on a push, in the idea that researchers do research, They don't know what the market wants or needs. They've no interest, particularly. Their interest and expertise is in research. So they come to us with what looks like a good idea, and our challenge is, what's this for? How are we going to sell this? How are we going to get this to the market? So a key thing for us to do is to reach out to the community, business community, product developers, product managers, CEOs, investors, etc., and to ask you guys, what is this technology for? Because we don't know what it's for. We've invented something that seems to us to be pretty cool, but we don't know what it's for. And the sooner you tell us the answer, the better. Because if we go and we spend 200,000 or 300,000 and we develop a product and we find actually that it's nice, but actually if you'd done it this way instead of that way, we could have sold it. So we would like to know those answers as early as possible. And we have many examples within universities, and universities all over the world, where you develop a technology, you think it's for this market, and it's this product, and you find out later actually it's for a completely different market and it does something different. So we encourage, and we would probably be talking to regularly about 150 people, who we call our business partners, many of whom get involved, come in, talk to us, and steer our technology, and very often then become involved in our spin-out companies, either as CEOs or investors or whatever. And that's that concept. And then finally, I just want to just say one thing. We run an event every 2 years at Carton House, and the event is called Connect, and it's coming up on the April 5th. But if you're interested in learning about how you engage on any of these knowledge transfers, what we plan to do on the day of Connect, on the 5th of April, and actually our booth is just here, and you can register straight away, or pick up a flyer which is right at the booth. But we are running a set of clinics for companies on how you engage on all levels of these. So you just sign up, come along, and we'll give you as much information as we possibly can. And we're doing that not in a, come and work with Manus and you have to work with us. We'll be doing that in a general sense. So we're institute agnostic, let's say. Okay, thank you very much.